get this going. We did.
Oh. Oh, well, good.
Crazy.
Oh, we got to get Robin.
Robin.
You ready?
Unbelievable.
Okay, we recording?
Somebody came in.
Hold that recording. False alarm?
Hey, Justin, let me check and see if that's the right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's her.
May help with the voting. That's another interesting conversation. It's duct tape because I duct tape because the maintenance guy came in. Didn't know they charged and left it, but left it in an unsafe condition.
Yeah, might have to have it out.
Recording in progress.
Oh, yeah.
Getting tired of this. I'm like, just think, just think.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
Oh, you're welcome.
And then she didn't have that anxiety.
They got indignant with you, right? They got indignant with you?
No, she had an anxiety attack.
Oh, did you?
After you hit me. What you getting anxious for?
All right.
Yes, sir.
Everybody ready?
Yes.
Fire in the hole. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ardo Rentila. I'm calling this meeting to order. It's Wednesday, January 8th, 6:40 p.m. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Present.
Present.
Here.
I am present.
Here. Thank you. I would like to ask Director Alvarado if he could please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you feel inclined to. If not, that's fine.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, General Counsel Nicole Witt will serve as parliamentarian for tonight's meeting.
As a reminder to members of the public in attendance, the board has adopted rules governing the conduct of its public meetings. Public participation is welcome and encouraged. All public comments should be addressed to the board as a body, and the board asks that you please respect the 3-minute time limit per speaker. All persons attending meetings shall observe the rules, any additional rules the board may establish, and the orders of the president with respect to the conduct of the meeting. No person may disrupt or disturb the board meeting. Disturbing, impeding, or otherwise preventing the orderly conduct of the board meeting could result in an individual's removal from the meeting.
Thank you. Directors, before we begin tonight's meeting, I ask that you be mindful of board rules and decorum, in particular to practice civility and decorum in discussions and debate. In order to preserve the order of this and every board meeting, directors will wait to speak until they are recognized and will restrict their comments to the motion or the agenda item under consideration. Thank you. So, public comments. Members of the public may comment during this time up to 3 minutes per speaker. Directors may briefly respond or ask clarifying questions, but may not engage in discussions regarding public comment made during this time. And now is the time for public comment. on this, on items not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, have we received any written comments or requests to speak on tonight's agenda?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on non-agenda items, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Thank you. Now we're taking a moment in tonight's meeting to acknowledge the outgoing board president, David Alvarado. On behalf of the West County Wastewater Board of Directors and leadership, I'd like to thank you and congratulate you on being the outgoing president. Director Alvarado, for all your work and representation and leadership in 2024. As board president, Director Alvarado attended City of San Pablo City Council meetings and budget, fiscal, and legislative committee meetings, the Contra Costa Board of Supervisors meetings, West County agency meetings, the Contra Costa Mayor's Conference, and participated in WCW 2024 board retreats. When Director Alvarado began his role as board president, he quickly brought decorum to the board and led with intention. He implemented certain criteria and processes, clarifying why certain actions were taken during meetings. Besides his leadership at regular meetings, Director Alvarado was a presence at community events throughout 2024, including the City of Richmond, various national night out events, and he often was in attendance for WCW staff events, including Public Works Week, barbecue, and recent holiday walkabout. On behalf of the entire board and WCW, I am grateful for your efforts and your support for this agency, its staff, its strategic plan goals, this board, and community we serve. Your leadership is inspirational. As a small token of our appreciation, we present you with this certification, which reads, West County Wastewater Board of Directors leadership and staff would like to gratefully acknowledge your contributions as president to the Board of Directors of West County Wastewater during the year 2024. Your leadership, collaboration, and passion for the water and wastewater industry are significant and greatly appreciated. Thank you for your amazing leadership. We look forward to having you continue guiding and leading WCW. So at this time, I'd like to present you with this certification.
Go.
And would you like to go around the front?
Is it better for a picture out there?
Here, I'll give this to you.
Thank you.
Here, we can put it up there.
Want to shake hands or something?
Sure.
Very nice. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you again. And Madam Clerk, have we received any requests from the public to speak on this item?
We haven't, but if anyone would like to speak on this item, please go now. Approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. You have no comment.
Seeing none, are there any comments from the board? I'd like to start at the far end. Director Weiner?
I have nothing prepared.
Nothing?
And if I may, President Retila, and correct me if I'm wrong, did you mention San Pablo City Council and the North Richmond, and North Richmond?
Yeah, I believe, I know San Pablo was in here. I didn't see North
But-
Richmond.
But you didn't see North Richmond. He's there all the time with me. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure North Richmond thanks you as well. Vice President Sedith,
Yes,
would you like to say anything?
yes, of course. Gracias. Thank you for your demeanor and your leadership and your strong hand and guidance, even when people don't see it, especially behind the scenes, and the ability to come and to you for advice and guidance. I appreciate it. I'm going to speak for myself because I know that I've always been able to even when without a title, I've always been able to come to you and get good advice and good guidance. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Well, I think I said my comments last time at the last board meeting, but I just want to thank everyone again, staff, Andrew, Nicole, Robin, Fakima Sams, Justin, all the folks that I worked closely with during the last year. It was a pleasure to work with. Although I won't be as hands-on, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here. And thank you. Thank you, and look forward to the next year.
Greatly appreciated, and I myself appreciate working with you, and as well as the whole board. You guys have made it very easy for me. So thanks again, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And so moving on, General Manager Andrew Clow, would you please lead us through the agenda?
Yes, President Rentil, I will. And yes, thank you, Director Alvarado. Appreciated your leadership over the past year. It was nice working with you.
Thank you.
And like you said, we'll continue to work.
Yeah.
The consent calendar consists of items 1 through 4 on the agenda. Madam Clerk, have we received any written comments or requests to speak on the consent calendar items?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on consent calendar items 1 through 4, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
We recommend the board approve consent calendar items 1 through 4 unless there are further questions from the board.
I move the item.
I will second. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call?
On the motion by, Director Alvarado and seconded by President Rentila to approve consent calendar items 1 through 4. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is regular calendar item 5 to confirm standing committees, appoint board members to standing committees, and assign board member liaisons to industry-related and other community organizations. Madam Clerk, have you received any written comments or requests to speak on regular calendar item number 5?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on regular calendar item number 5, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Okay, I guess it's my turn, huh? Now is the time for us to review the standing committees and proposed committee appointments, as well as industry-related and community organizations liaison assignments. Our current standing committees are Finance and Administration Committee and Infrastructure Operation Environment Committee. I recommend that the standing committees and appointments remain the same for 2025 as they were in 2024, except that Director Alvarado will be chair of the Infrastructure Operation and Environment Committee instead of me. I also recommend that the industry-related and community organization and liaison assignments remain the same as in 2024, except that Vice President Sudduth and I will be appointed as liaisons for the Contra Costa County Mayor's Conference, and that Director Alvarado be appointed as the alternate. Are there any questions, comments regarding the committee or recommended appointments? No comments, no questions? Then I'd like to ask for a motion in a second.
I move the item.
And I'll second it.
You beat you. It's his day. Madam Clerk, would you care to take a vote, a roll call?
Sure. On the motion by Director Suddeth and seconded by Director Alvarado to confirm standing committees, appoint directors to committees, and sign the directors as liaisons to industry-related and community organizations for 2025 as proposed. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes 5-0.
Next on the agenda is regular calendar item 6, to review the West County Wastewater Board of Directors compensation and consider directing staff to take necessary actions to change the compensation. Madam Clerk, have we received any written comments or requests to speak on the consent calendar items?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on this item, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Thank you. Deputy General Manager Justin Lovell will provide a brief presentation.
Good evening, President Rentila, Vice President Suddeth, and members of the board. I'm Justin Lovell, Deputy General Manager. So I just want to give you this evening a brief review of the board compensation. We do this about every year. We did not do the 2024, we did not do a review of the compensation in 2024 because the board increased their compensation was effective June of 2023, so it had been less than a year, so we decided to wait. But typically it'll be due in January of every year. So yeah, just kind of just reminding what I just said about the compensation days. The board increased their compensation. That became effective in June. There is an ordinance, the adoption that needs to happen, so it does take a couple meetings, a public hearing, and a waiting period before any compensation increases can be adopted. And this is all governed by the Health and Safety Code. So just as a reminder, the Board of Directors, you are compensated per day of service, and Health and Safety Code allows you to have 6 days of service for compensation. And so then the Health and Safety Code also says you can increase no more, your compensation no more than 5% each calendar year. So just, we did want to compare surveys from 2023 to 2025. When we did do a survey in 2023, we had it was mistakenly shown how much East Bay Mud's total compensation was. We were saying it was up to 2 days. That was actually the 1,263 was their maximum compensation per month at the time. And you see on the right side, 2025, these are the agencies that we're able to get a survey data from this time. So as you can see, the per diem per meeting, West County Wastewater is at the top. And then you can see several others between $218 and $281 per meeting. And then it lists the maximum compensation per month. And so just tonight, there is a few possible actions that the board may decide to take. They may decide to take no action, as in you will keep the compensation the same, or you may direct staff to, there's kind of two options about increases, about the maximum. It's the law isn't, it's kind of a gray area on what the maximum amount is, but there's, so you could direct staff to come back to the board to increase director compensation up to 4%, which is 5% above the 500, but the $400, or you could direct staff to 442, which is the 10%. Was there a mistake on that? Oh.
441. 441.
441, okay, so that was yeah, just a typo there. So those are the kind of the two options we have with the board compensation. So that concludes my presentation, and we can answer any questions that you may have.
Sounds good. We will, I'd like to hear from the board. Director Wiener?
Yes, I would prefer to take no action on this matter.
Director King Meredith?
Just for to make sure the clarification, if we were to accept the increase, it would be, the first round would be for the $20 increase, and it would be 2 months upon receiving, correct? After June, after June the 30th?
Well, so
Before June the
yeah.
30th is the $20,
Right.
5%.
So if we waited until the due, that would be 2 years after. So it's, so once the ordinance is adopted, there is a 60-day waiting period before the implementation of a new wage. So I believe if that's correct, that if we waited,
After
if it was
that,
after June 18th, you could increase it up
$41.
to the $441.
$41.
If it was implemented after that date.
And then that would be from that period until the next following year for 1 year?
Right.
Okay, that's my clarification. That's what I thought I read. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you. I'm done.
Vice President Suddeth?
Yeah, I'm not interested in taking it. I'm good.
Director Alvarado?
Yeah, the 441, if we decided to do that, you say it would take effect when, June?
It would have to be after June 18th, because that would be the 2-year anniversary of the last increase. So that would be
Okay,
the
so
maximum.
after June 18th, and then when would it be effective?
Well, it would have to be effective after June 18th. So you could take action prior to that time, I believe, and you still have the 60-day waiting period. So depending on the timing of when the ordinance came back to the board, I don't know if, then you would still have to wait 60 days, but it would, the effective date. So I think we'd have to look into like the exact details of the General Counsel Witt about the law, because how it's stated, and if there's any clarification about could they adopt an ordinance prior to June 18th and then set the effective date to that maximum, I guess is that kind of the question, Director Alvarado?
Not really.
Not really. I
I'm
was
still
trying to make sure.
confused.
What's the question?
The question is, if we approve the 441, when would it become effective? What would be the effective date?
So based on the recommendation here, the effective date would be after June 18th, 2025.
After June 8th, I'm still confused. So,
So the statute says that the board can only increase 5%, a maximum 5% increase for each calendar year since the operative date of the last increase.
okay,
We've looked at case law guidance, trying to understand how that's interpreted, and if that year is interpreted as 365 days, or if it's January to December, and there's no guidance on that.
I
It looks
see,
like
so-
agencies that do regularly update their, regularly update their compensation, do it on a kind of anniversary date. So this interpretation is a conservative approach to make sure that we're on the in terms of the more conservative calculation of the time period. But effectively, it means that if the board took this approach and wanted to increase to 441, that it would do it as of or after the effective date, 2025, I'm sorry, June 18th, 2025.
Could you remind everybody what the 5% increase is in dollars?
So the first 5% increase for 1 year takes us from 400 to 420. The second increase takes the board from 420 to 441. And the process that Justin was alluding to, the kind of working backwards from that, is we have to introduce the ordinance, hold a public hearing that needs to be noticed for a certain period of time. And then once the board acts, there's then a 60-day waiting period where a member of the public could bring an action basically to challenge the increase. And if once that 60-day period lapses, the ordinance would come into effect. So if the board wanted to increase with that June 18th, 2025 effective date, then we would just work the process backwards to make sure that we had adequate time.
okay, now the board took that raise in June of 2023, correct?
June of 2023.
Okay, and then before that, this board had not been given a raise since
I think 2006.
2006?
I think so.
So that was, what,
18
17,
years.
18 years? Okay, all right, thank you. You've answered my questions.
Well, I think my questions have been answered, so I'd like to see if there's anyone wants to put a motion on the floor.
President Ratila, I would like to make a motion for the compensation to be looked up on for June the 18th of 2025 at the compensation of $441.
And I'll second that.
Madam Clerk?
So on the motion by Director Meredith and seconded by Director Alvarado to direct staff to draft and present a proposal to the board to increase director compensation to 441. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
No.
The motion passes 4.
3 to 2?
Three.
3-2.
Three.
Oh, you said no. I didn't even say it. You said no? I said no. Okay, thank you. So the motion passes 3-2 with Director Sutton and Director. I thought the light was on. I apologize.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is regular calendar item 7, to approve requests for Director Suddeth to attend NACWA 2025 Water Week and 2025 National Water Policy Fly-In in Washington, D.C. in April 2025, and meetings with federal officials and representatives in Washington, D.C. on matters of specific relevance to West County wastewater as opportunities arise in 2025. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments or requests to speak on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on item 7, please approach the podium or seeing none, we have no public comments.
Yeah, at this time, first I'd like to hear from Vice President Suddeth, if she could please provide the board with the information on your conference attendance and potential meetings in Washington, D.C. Are there any questions? Well, we'll get to that.
Yes, sir. Each year during Earth Month, and we have so Aqua is our California equivalent of not just clean water agencies, but they've expanded to cover water and sanitation agencies throughout California. And NACWA is the national equivalent of that. Each year we have, during Water Week, we have a national water policy fly-in where we meet with our congressional representatives to speak on policies that we're doing not only in California but nationally. We meet with all of our reps. We have not only the policies that we are representing nationally but also here in California. And we have a chance to talk about what we're doing. And I've attended the last 6 years, I think. And we've had an opportunity to make our pitch for not only our projects, but to bring money back into the district. The second item is also, we don't quite know when we're going to be able to book some of these meetings. We try and make them during the policy fly-ins when CASA, when Aqua, and when NACWA go, but sometimes it's difficult because they don't like meeting during conference times. The actual representatives and federal officials tend to push it off on their staff, and it's often better to meet when we meet with our lobbyists and we meet with the actual representatives when it is not conference time, and the off-season usually makes it better. So I know that the last 2 years, I've asked for this, and the board was gracious enough to give us a little bit of leeway to make it, to give us a little bit of timing, so they travel with our staff to make it when it's more convenient. And we'll book those times with our firm in DC. Don't know when that is, but when it's best. So I just needed a little bit of leeway to know, as we talk to our DC counterparts, when that's based, then I will bring it back and let the board know. But I don't know when that is. I don't know what I don't know. I know I'll know better after January 20th, after we know who's going to be assigned to what committees. We do have a good idea. I will bring this one point up. We do know that our new Senator Schiff was assigned to the Environmental Committee, which is actually good news for us. That's todo.
Okay, well, before we get to questions, I'd like to take these items separately and, vote on them separately.
Sure.
So is there anything the attorney or general manager would like to add for the first item before we get to board questions?
No.
No? Board member, Director, Wiener? Do you have anything you'd like to?
In the past, when I first joined the board, we had a policy of an attendance policy and travel policy for conferences, and they were restricted to 2 annually, and all other attendance would be local. And Sacramento was made as an exception, but that was because travel expenses were far less and people could drive their own vehicles and they wouldn't have to spend the night to attend meetings in Sacramento with our representatives. Before we take this action, I would like us to establish a policy on travel to DC and travel out of the state to attend conferences. And while lobbying is a good idea, CASA provides opportunities in DC once a year to lobby on behalf of our industry. And I think that is sufficient, and we can always meet locally with our representatives because they come home on recess quite often. So I think we should establish a policy before we continue voting piecemeal for individual board members to take the opportunity to go to DC or out of the state for conferences.
Okay, I'd like to remind everybody that we're taking these individually, so we're referencing item 7.1, correct? Mm-hmm. For April. So is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you,
Yes.
President.
Sorry.
Regina. One of the things, and I think I mentioned it at our last board meeting, how important it is to be seen and to be recognized, and for all to notice what the story is and what we're doing here in the West Coast. I had mentioned that another organization that I am with, one of the main things they would like and prefer for you to network and to send an ambassador to see what is the newest thing and what is available for your county and for your state. As we are stepping into the future, I put it like this, I'll say the future of trying to continue and to look at the environment and be a champion and to be a leader in what we are doing in order for others to look upon what is going on. I think it is very valuable to have someone to take that charge and to be there with staff along to tell their story. So as far as to travel and not to be limited to whatever is available for us to take on the challenges that we have and to bring back the needed resources and the funds to the West Coast, and with us to network with others, I think it is very valuable. So with that, that is my comment. Thank you.
Vice President Sedith, would you like to add anything before we move on to Director Alvarado?
Not at this time, sir.
Thank you. Director Alvarado?
I think the system we have in place now works fine. So if there is no other, unless you have comments, I'd like to move the item.
The item's been moved. This is item 7.1, by the way.
Correct.
To approve,
7.1.
Yeah. Okay, so,
So let me refresh my motion then. I'd like to move item 7.1.
okay,
And I second it. That's why I said 7.1.
okay.
On the motion to approve item 7.1 on the regular calendar, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No. The motion passes 4-1 with Director Weiner voting no.
Very good. Then moving on to item 7.2, approve a travel request for Vice President Sadeth to attend meetings with federal officials and representatives in Washington, D.C. on matters specific relevance to West County waste issues arise. General Manager, is there anything you'd like to add to 7.2?
No, other than if the board wanted to have a discussion regarding this, just like you did with the other one, about putting any more detail to it.
I was wondering if you could refresh my memory. The entire board is eligible to go to meetings in California, right, without having board approval? Go ahead.
So the board's travel policy specifies that any conference training located within California by CSDA or CASA, as well as travel to Alameda, Calusa, Contra Costa, Lake, Marin, Mendocino, Napa, San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Sacramento, Solano, Sonoma, and Yolo counties on West County business. Local functions sponsored by local associations in which West County maintains a membership, and other meetings or events listed in the authorized days of service are pre-authorized travel.
Very good, and these are all, I didn't hear you, these are all days of service considered?
So that's a little bit of a different question. It depends on kind of whether or not that's something that the board is directing the board member to do. So for example, as a liaison or something like that.
Okay, we'll revisit that. So are there any questions from directors, starting with Director Weiner?
First, I wanted to say that there are 5 members of the board, which would be to put faces in front of our leaders in D.C. would allow us to have 10 opportunities to attend. So if we restricted our travel to 2 per board member, that would be sufficient to be in front of, as Annie King Meredith was right to point out that putting your face in front of our elected representatives and having a presence is very important. But I just wanted to mention that there are 5 board members, and to designate one as our only rep to all these things, I think is, first of all, taking away the opportunity of board members to represent the district in DC, and so I'm opposed to 7-2 as well, and I think we can deal with this on a case-to-case basis. But I would really like to see a more robust discussion on our and create a policy so that we don't have to continuously discuss whether someone should or shouldn't go to DC, and make it a little bit more of a policy-driven item.
I hear you on that. Director King Meredith?
Thank you, President Retino. I think what I have said kind of overlap from 7.1 robustly falls into under 7.2, what I have to say. So I have nothing else to say.
Well, I'll add to what you said earlier, and I'm just going to say it, even though my name is Cheryl, I'm going to be frank for a minute. Nothing. Bad joke. And I agree with Director Reno. It shouldn't be just one person. However, it has been one person because I'm the one who has been the one to step forward to do the work. And I've been the one to step forward to do the work because I've been the one to step forward to do the work, to volunteer to do it, right? And in sometimes I've been the one because for whatever reason, someone else is not available at the times when this has come up. And it's not just that. And I believe that general manager and now the assistant general manager has brought this to you guys' attention after our visit last year. Not everyone can tell the story of certain parts of the story anyway, of the district, the way that the representatives want to hear it. Sure, you can go and talk to them, but there's not what they want to hear. I can talk about North Richmond, but this lady to my left is North Richmond. So when she goes in and talks about North Richmond, she's talking about it from her lived experience and her life, having lived there her entire life. So she's talking about it from a different core and from the very fiber of her being. That is the difference from reading about it and driving through it. And that is what we are going there to represent. When Director Alvarado goes and talks to representatives about what it's like to be in San Pablo, what it's like to be a Latino man in San Pablo. While I might be Latina, I'm not a Latino man. Never have been and will not be. So some of us can represent the district. Each of us has something different to offer when we go to speak to the representatives. So while it might be true that there's 5 of us, these are 5 very different voices. And they're coming from 5 different experiences. And they're coming from 5 very different demographics and different backgrounds. And each of us has a very different perspective that's being offered. And so when we're talking about that, and for some of us, this coming from, that is a very, especially, and I'm speaking for myself, I cannot speak for anyone else, I'm talking from what it's like to be a brown woman, a black woman, a Muslim woman, a person with disabilities, coming from that lens. And not everybody can tell the story from that area, from that lens. So when I'm sitting down and saying that, when I'm speaking to the representatives, I'm speaking from that lens. So yes, sometimes it is me who's going to do that. And I'm speaking from a lens as somebody who is learned in different areas of the sciences, but I'm not just because it's a degree, but it's also how that is affecting Black and brown women in environment and how the lack of access to clean, fresh water and clean, fresh sanitation systems affects their health. So yes, it's different. So that is the big difference. And so you have to look at it from not in this fishbowl, but in the greater, why are they asking for certain people? Why they ask for Miss Annie to talk about the levy project from her community's aspect? It might be our greater community, but there's the community where she lives. And I think that it's very important that we keep that perspective and we allow that to be what drives these conversations and not a desire. I'm not going to DC for vacation. I never have. And anybody who's ever traveled with me and ever went to a conference with me knows that from the morning to the night when we put our head down, I am working. I am working. And I'm working not just at that conference, I'm working with my job. I work full time. I work full time still with my mortgage paying job and with West County. So this not well, I consider it fun because, you know, science is my love language, but this is work. And I think that if you want to come along, Director Winter, I invite you to come along, but this work. Put on your running shoes and come on. But this is work, and this is what we do. But there's voices that they ask for, and those are the voices that we are bringing to them. And the last thing I will say is, I agree that we need to have policy, but I disagree we do not already have policy. The GC just read the policy. So we are doing this from a policy standpoint, and that is why we're voting on it tonight, because we are following policy. With that, es todo. Gracias.
Director Alvarado?
I think she said it in a nutshell. So, like I said, there's no other questions or comments, say.
Yeah, I'd like to get some clarification. On this 7.2, would she be traveling with staff, and you also come back for approval, right? For travel approval from the board? It's not like she can just poof, where's she at? Washington.
The travel approval, what you're approving here is a travel request it's on matters of specific relevance as opportunities arise. That's the way the resolution is
Right.
currently written. So sure, there'd have to be a reimbursement request or travel, but you would have already approved the travel request, just like attendance at the NACWA conference. That's the way it's currently written.
Right. And does legal see any issues with this, or do we have any policies in place that you can reiterate according to this?
So this aligns with the board's policy to require board approval for out-of-state travel.
Right.
My understanding, as has been already described at the meeting, is that there are a number of uncertainties around timing with the potential meetings, and so there was a need to have some flexibility, and that's why it was drafted the way that it was drafted in terms of a broad delegation of authority, but this is entirely within the board's authority. If there's a desire to modify or anything like that, that's within the board's authority.
Do we have any other questions or comments? Is there a motion on the floor?
I move the item, 7.2.
I'm sorry, was there a motion on the floor? Just made?
Yes,
Well, we can still have discussion after a motion. Was there a second?
I was just going to, when you,
I'm not going to interrupt you.
okay. I second it. The 7.2?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about, I second the 7.2.
Madam Clerk?
No, I'd like
Yeah,
okay.
I'd like to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This isn't about a person. And also, this is about the board. I feel that the board, any person on this board can represent the board. I don't feel that there's one special board member that's better than any other board member. And so my concern about this is we're assigning a particular board member to represent us all the time. And I don't think that's, we can't grow as members of the board if we're not, put in the hot seat to go and speak for the district. And I just think this is a bad idea.
Anyone else? There was a motion on the floor. It was seconded. Madam Clerk, could you take a roll call, please?
On the motion to approve regular calendar item 7.2, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
The motion passes 4-1 with Director Weaver voting no. Sorry for the record, I should state that the motion was made by Director Alvarado and seconded by Director King.
Correct. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is other business, item 8, reports from staff, general manager, general counsel. Madam Clerk, have we received any written comments or requests to speak on item 8?
We have not. If anyone would like to speak on item 8, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
We have no further comments or reports this evening, Mr. President.
So there are any comments or questions from the board? No? Hearing none? Moving on.
The final item on the agenda is item 9, director's comments, meeting reports. Madam Clerk, have we received any written comments or requests to speak on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on item 9, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Okay, I guess we're at director's reports. I'd like to start with Director Weiner.
Let's see, first of all, I want to wish everyone at the district a happy and prosperous new year. Since the last meeting, I attended the Christmas walkabout at the plant and enjoyed seeing staff in attendance and finally looking at the digestions of cooks, which are impressive. I attended the El Segundo Chamber of Commerce and Richmond City Council and otherwise did holiday things and late.
Director King Meredith.
Thank you, President. I only had, this is the beginning of the month, Happy New Year. And I haven't really started attending meetings. My meetings will be after this meeting tonight. I will have several that will be constantly happening. But as far as the match that was attended with Director Alvaro last night with me, we only had one item on the agenda, and it was for the renewable properties that Goodrich is looking to have a site for electric vehicles, a charging hub. Now, this charging hub would be actually on Goodrich and Park, and they will be serving the entities that are around that area, nearby our location. So they are looking to put up 50 of charging stations in this particular site on Goodrich. Right now, companies that are nearby on Park. They will be the ones that will be servicing their vehicles, and their trucks. And this will be, the service area and the service route will be down the parkway and not cutting through the residents in North Richmond. So with that is a work in progress, and, we will, myself and I'm pretty sure, Director Alvarado will keep you all informed. So this is just something that's happening now, and it's it's actually 50 charging stations that will be available for these companies to use, and it will be 24 hours a day. So I just want to, put everybody abreast of what's going on Good Richmond Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Did they talk about how they're gonna, charge for this? Did they mention, how do people sign up or anything like that?
Well, it's only geared to the companies that are there.
Right.
Like we have Whole Foods, we have FedEx, and we have a lot of other entities that have their vehicles as, they're trucking. It's for their trucks.
Yeah, so,
They keep
are they
them-
gonna charge by kilowatt?
They're going to charge, well, they're charging by megawatts. They have it all laid out as for if it's going to be short-term or long-term, if it's going to be for 4 hours, or if it's going to be for all night. It depends
I see.
on the turnover as the trucks come through, and they will be having certain listings of who will be actually signed up to use the station at that time. But it's only for those companies there. It is not for the public use right now. But one of the things that we have asked them, it was to consider, once it's up and going after years, to revisit and to see how they can bring something into the community, because this is a known factor. Everybody in California is looking to turn over for electric vehicles. So why not have something close by for the public to also use at this point? So they took it at heart. They're gonna look into it. So it's nothing that they just shoot it off. They want to be a friendly, neighbor
Yeah,
at
I'm
this
just
point.
wondering what their business model is. So
Right.
do they generate their own electricity?
Well, that's what, no, they use PG&E
Oh, okay.
for right now.
Oh, great.
But they will be, getting away from that. But right now, they're just starting up, but they have plans. They have plans.
That's interesting.
Okay? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Sedith?
Thank you. Let me see. So, I went to quite a few swearing-in ceremonies for our local officials, Richmond City Council, Board of Supervisors, a couple of congressional retirements for some great environmental champions, including Ms. Grace Napolitano and our own Barbara Lee, and then for Latifah Simon, who's actually going into office, the White House Environmental Council, Environmental Justice Council, I should say, NACP Environmental Justice Meeting. And then, we didn't get to say it last time, but happy anniversary, WCWD. Yay, yay. On December 19th, it happened right after we left our meeting. 103. And then we had our WCA meeting, which, bye-bye, WCA. Happy anniversary, WCWD. And we buried WCA. And then a couple events with Santa Annie over here. She has some pictures for you. And then Women for Water, Water for Women, a couple of events, holiday events with them, and then also East Bay Mud, the San Francisco Department on the status of women and girls. And then also, it was very timely. I did some work with the Habitat for Humanity here in the Bay Area right before our 39th president, Carter, passed away. So it was pretty serendipitous. And lastly, meeting with 350 Bay Area. So I would like for us to at least recognize the work that he did for our environment. He spent some time here, for those who don't know, here in Alameda County and in Contra Costa County with our Habitat for Humanity here. So I had the pleasure of meeting him when I was in college and doing work in Illinois and in Georgia. Those who don't know, I went to school at Spelman. And then I took some time in South America working on Habitat and Humanity. So es todo for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Alvarado?
Final meeting of the WCA. We bid farewell to them, and we still have a lot of stuff that has to happen from that dissolution. It's in process. Attended the WCW Holiday Walkabout as well. There was no other meetings for San Pablo, City of San Pablo. And the first meeting in January was canceled. So the next meeting for San Pablo, I believe, is 21st of January. And I also attended the North Richmond MAC with Director King Meredith, who has basically said exactly what happened at that meeting in great detail, so I don't need to expound on that. And that's it. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. For me, I did attend the city council meeting last night where they gave themselves an 80% raise. Thank you, everybody. And it was a little contentious. Yeah, so, yeah, $20 here, $20 there. Well, anyway, they did talk about military-grade equipment for RPD. That was a sticking point. There's a parklet moratorium. There were several items pulled from the agenda. And I wanted to mention for the RNCC meeting next Monday, we have Assistant Police Chief Tim Simmons coming in. And then the following month, we have Chevron coming in to present. And for our neighborhood council meeting, which is on the 23rd here at the Hilltop Community Church, we have Police Chief Bisa French coming in to give us a presentation and an update as to what's going on with the police department. I am still doing a clothing drive. If anybody has any clothes they want to donate, feel free to drop them off at the Hilltop Community Church or come to the meeting here and drop them off with me. The address for Hilltop Community Church is 3118 Shane Drive, Richmond, California, 94806. And I wanted to congratulate ex-President Alvarado on a job well done for 2024.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciated. And lastly, I just wanted to mention that our hearts and prayers are with the fire victims down south. There's a horrific fire going on in Southern California right now that's making national headlines. So our hearts and prayers are with them. I hope everybody lives through it. Is there anything that anyone else wanted to add or close with before I close the meeting?
I was just going to say thank you for mentioning the fires, because I'm trying to pay attention to you, but I'm looking at the map here in Los Angeles and noting that my son has been evacuated from his home. My aunt, it's nearly in an evacuation zone, and my niece in Santa Monica has been evacuated from her home. So, yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, my sister and niece are evacuated as well. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a historic fire.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have lots of family down there, but yeah.
So once again, our hearts and prayers go out to the victims of the fire in Southern California. And with that, I guess I'll close the meeting.
Anyone?
Oh, I'm sorry, Annie?
I'm sorry, and thank you.
Yes.
One of the, I just want to mention, last night, I mentioned one of the passing of one of our individuals that was a pioneer in North Richmond. She passed away last month on the 17th of December. And why I'm mentioning the 17th of December, it holds that the property of the groundbreaking that we had for CHGC for the 42 units that I had mentioned last month, that they owned that property back in the 40s and 50s.
Wow.
And after the groundbreaking, the next day, she passed away.
Wow.
Yes, so her name is, oh gosh, let me see. Her last name is Thompson, but they were one of the first families to have a store and a liquor store in North Richmond on one of the sites that is being prepared for the 42 brand new units that Community Housing Development and Eden Housing is actually taking over to construct those sites.
Oh, wow.
So I just want, her name is QB Thompson. Yes, QB Thompson, and well-known family, one of the first families in North Richmond. And she passed away right after the groundbreaking that took place on the 16th. So I just want to share that with and condolence to the family. Her service will be taking place Saturday the 11th at Sojourn Church up there on Shane, I think it's on Shane Drive, next door to Country Coastal College at 11 p.m. Thank you.
President Alvarado?
Director, but thank you.
Director, I'm sorry.
I just want to say, maybe we can consider closing the meeting in her honor. That would be a nice gesture.
Yeah, before we do that, I'd like to add to Martin Luther King Day is coming up, and there's going to be a parade in Richmond, California, so you'd have to go to the city website to get more information, but I would be honored to close the meeting on behalf of QD Thompson.
Yes, QB Thompson, yes.
Thank you, thank you. On that note, we will close this meeting. It is 7:44. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you. Yeah.
It went. I have emphysema, so I kind of run out of breath when I'm reading a long sentence. So
Something like that, then if you were partway through and you want to ask, or
yeah.
perfect. More than happy, just, I mean, we're starting the ever said something.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part, but that would be fine, don't push yourself, but just in general.
So I think maybe we should look at travel policies here in the near future.
Yeah,
As
it's
we
fine,
do that.
and like you said, and the policy is to come back here and get the approval, but there aren't a lot of like maximum things that absolutely something you could do. So this is fine.
Can we get paid to have Harry lead the meeting? Yeah.
I'm not going to answer that.
Well, thank you, everybody, for making it easy for me, or easier.
Not bad at all for your first meeting.
So there's Chinese food.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna take some.
yeah.
Yeah, Los Angeles has got like 5 separate fires in the city burning at the same time, different parts. Oh, well, there's, yeah, here, that's the one that my son, so here in West Hollywood, he is, I haven't even been to his house yet. It's his